Hey, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about buying tabletop role-playing games as a papal indulgence. All right, so there's this great, he's a really fascinating guy. I definitely listen to, I go over his channel whenever there's industry dust-ups, right? This Satine Phoenix thing got me over on Grim Jim. So Grim Jim brought this up, and he was talking about how incredibly unprofessional the tabletop role-playing game industry is. He's like, the whole thing is built, if you're not D&D, if you're indie, it's all built on handshakes and like, I'll pay you when this thing gets published, right? Like, TTRPG for freelancers have absolutely horrible jobs, almost never get paid on time. Not on time. The reality is the industry's so small and they make such dirt money that they can't pay anybody until it's published, and sometimes things don't get published for years or don't get published at all. So tabletop role-playing game freelancers end up not getting their money for literally years sometimes, right? But who cares? They're writing about dragons. Like, come on, like, you got a hard life, please. Next. But one of his points, Grim Jim said this in a video. He's like, one of the things you could tell that the tabletop role-playing game industry is still massively unprofessional, is really not like functioning as a real industry, is that many indie tabletop, this is not the case with Dungeons & Dragons. People don't buy Dungeons & Dragons because there's actual value there. You buy Dungeons & Dragons, you could take that to the table, or you get, and people are like, oh, thanks for bringing Dungeons & Dragons. We know exactly what this is. This has a record of success that goes back for 48 years, right? You bring any other nonsense game to any other indie game to the table, people are like, what is this thing? I don't know, am I going to have a good time? I hope so. I don't know, right? Like, because nobody knows what this thing is, right? He went even further. He said that a lot of tabletop role-playing games are bought as papal indulgences. I love this term. I love his language. I know exactly where he's going. Let's talk about this, because he's 100% right. There are tabletop role-playing games that are being bought as papal indulgences. First of all, what's a papal indulgence? A papal indulgence is the reason I'm a Protestant and not a Catholic, okay? So Catholic Church was like, I know you guys like to sin. Why don't you go ahead and just sin, and you could pay us before you even do it, right? Or even if you go and you sin, you could just pay us some money. We'll take care of that noise. We got a priest over here. He'll absolve you of it. And actually, that was the real kicker, right? Was people coming in and being like, I'm going to go, do something really terrible this weekend, and I'm just going to give you some money, and you're going to give me a papal indulgence, right? And literally the Pope was signing off on this stuff. He's like, yeah, you can do your sin, just make sure you pay us for it. That ain't supposed to be how Christianity works, right? Like, the Pope should be like, we know you're going to do a bunch of bad things this weekend. Make sure we get our check. Like, and guess what? Martin Luther was like, bang, nailed the 90-point thesis to the wall. This is nonsense, and the Pope sucks, right? Guess what? I co-sign that too, right? I ain't down with a church that sells indulgences. That's crazy. I don't want to say crazy. It's not crazy. It's outlandish, and frankly, it borders, if not, it kind of borders evil, right? Like, that belongs in the chaotic, neutral, that's I'll say it flat out. You selling people the right to sin, that's evil, flat out. That's why I'm a Protestant, right? Like, I ain't down with the Catholic Church, period. Now, if you Catholic, you think I got any of that wrong, meet me in the comments below. I'm more than willing to listen to you. But papal indulgences suck, right? Like, and it's literally why we left. The Protestants left, right? So here's the thing. When Grim Jim says people are buying games like papal indulgences, what he's saying is they're buying tabletop role-playing games not to play them, right? Not even to read them, but to say, I support this issue. I support this creator. I support this world stance. Number one game that does this, in my opinion, is Lamentations of the Flame Princess, right? That thing's been around for years. That dude is super, super right, if not alt-right, right? And people are like, oh, I want to shake my fist at the woke world and buy this incredibly prejudiced. I definitely think, you don't think Lamentations of the Flame Princess is prejudiced? Take a look inside those books. On one or two of those books, you don't even need to look inside the book. It's right on the cover. They got a Lamentation of the Flame Princess like source book. Just look at the 2-word cover, and the second word is power, right? Like, whoa, that's bad. That is bad, right? Like, and they are like super super prejudiced, and they're like, hey, we're totally based, and we're really about loving this kind of person and not loving that kind of person. And if you buy Lamentation of the Flame Princess, you can carry your prejudice banner forward, right? And I think I don't think you should be doing that. Like I am definitely for some based things, but I ain't for loving some people and hating others just because of one attribute they have, right? That sucks. Like that, and again, that evil, right? I do not like. I really think some of the things that they put in those Lamentation of the Flame Princess book, but people are buying them. They're like, oh, I'm super conservative. I'm right. Maybe I'm even alt-right, and I can show that by buying Lamentation of the Flame Princess, and I can thumb my nose at the woke D&D 5e crowd, right? And that I think that's the number one game that is being bought as a papal indulgence is Lamentation of the Flame Princess. I'll put a few others on the list. Now here's other ones that are being bought as papal indulgences by people on the political American right. Republicans, red, right? All right, here we go. Now, I don't think any of these are as bad as Lamentation of the Flame Princess, and I don't think that there's a horrible, like, ugly... I really think there's some horrible, ugly politics behind Lamentation of the Flame Princess, but these other ones, they don't fit that. It's just like, hey, I'm Republican, I'm red, and I really want to thumb my nose at D&D 5e woke liberal. And hey, legit, for a long time, D&D 5e has been very woke liberal, and they've made no bones that they're on the blue side of politics, right? Like, you could definitely see that in their Twitter, right? And take a look back at 2020, right? Like, in 2019. All right, and actually, Frank, you can see it today, right? Like, you know, like, they put up some tweets that are quite political and have nothing to do with the product or Dungeons & Dragons, right? But, yeah, all right. So here's the other ones. OSE. Like those things, that thing is bought as papal indulgences. No two ways about it. And also, I would say quite a few OSR products are very bought. Oh, every single thing that was ever printed by TSR after 2002, right? And it don't matter what version of TSR. They were all like, hey, we're super right, we're red, we're we're Republican. Buy our game because you want to thumb your nose at liberal woke D&D 5e. So these are being bought as papal indulgences. Now I just hit the right, I hit the reds, I hit the Republicans who are buying games for reasons other than to play them, other than even to read them, right? And this should not be happening. This is a bad part of the tabletop role-playing game industry, right? Like, it should not be happening. You should not be buying games to make some kind of political statement, right? So books, you should not be buying books, okay? All right. So that shouldn't be your primary. I think that can be a benefit, but I don't, and I think he's right. These are being bought as papal indulgences. They're being bought for the issue, right? And what's even crazier is the red, more outlandish, the Republicans, they're all like, hey, we don't like virtue signaling. What do you think you're doing when you're buying Lamentations of the Flame Princess? No, everybody knows that game sucks. You ain't putting that on your table. Like you are making a statement, right? Like, and that, and you're virtue signaling, right? Buying Lamentation of the Flame Princess is almost always virtue signaling, right? For the right? All right, now this does happen on the other side, right? And where are the virtue signaling papal indulgences on the left? Virtually every PBTA game that was ever written. PBTA, those are almost all bought as papal indulgences, right? Now, I think some of those make it to the table, maybe 5 or 10%, but they're all like, I want to, show my left, my left views, and so I'm going to buy Bluebeard's Bride, so PBTA, definitely you see it on that side. I think this is bad. You should buy Dungeons and Dragons to improve your life, and you should buy other tabletop role-playing games to get better at running Dungeons and Dragons, not to be doing some kind of papal indulgence. This is a great concept from Grim Jim. I'm glad he brought this up. I'd love to hear your thought on this. Do you think I missed some? Do you think there are some games that are being bought for papal indulgences that I didn't mention? Love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.